Have you ever just felt completely uh, overwhelmed trying to understand your own well-being? You go online looking for maybe some assessment, and there's just so much information.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge challenge, especially when you think about things like depression and anxiety. I mean, the numbers globally are staggering, right? Hundreds of millions affected.
Exactly. And that just highlights the need for, quick but also reliable tools,
Mhm.
something that can help people get a sense of what's going on.
For sure. We need accessible ways to screen and assess, ways that actually work.
And that, right there, is what we're diving into today.
Yeah.
We're looking closely at a really common tool, the Depression Anxiety Stress Scales 21. You might know it as the DASS-21.
Yeah, you see it around a lot. It's short, it's free, used all over the world to measure symptoms of depression, anxiety, and, well, stress.
But the big question we're tackling is, how good is it really?
Hmm.
When you put it under the scientific microscope, how well does it actually perform?
Right. Our mission today is to unpack a major systematic review that did exactly that. It looked deep into the DASS-21's measurement properties.
So, how reliable is it? Is it valid? Does it measure what it claims to measure?
Precisely. Think of it as putting the test itself to the test. We're using the Cosman methodology as our guide here, which is pretty much the gold standard for checking out these kinds of health measurement tools.
Okay, sounds thorough. So the DASS-21, it's everywhere. Where did it actually come from? What's the story there?
Well, it started as a shorter version of an older test, the DASS-42, and initially the researchers were focused just on depression and anxiety.
Okay, standard enough.
But here's an interesting bit. As they were developing it, this third pattern of symptoms, things like being easily agitated, irritable, tense, it just kind of emerged from the data.
Wait, so they weren't initially looking for stress as a separate thing?
Oh, not explicitly. It just showed up statistically, distinct from depression and anxiety. So the tool sort of naturally evolved into this three-part assessment we know today.
Huh, that's actually really interesting. A bit of scientific discovery baked in. And you said it's global, like 44 languages or something?
Yeah, the reach is massive. It's used in healthy populations, people with chronic illnesses, psychiatric patients, all across the globe, which is exactly why we need to know how well it works.
Makes sense. But like with anything popular, there must have been some questions, right? Some debates.
Oh, definitely. A big one was about its underlying structure. What exactly is it measuring? How do depression, anxiety, and stress relate within the test? Different studies were coming up with different answers.
Like, is it one big blob of negative feeling or three distinct things or something else?
Exactly. Some found one factor, some two, three, maybe even four. It was a bit messy. This review really aimed to clear that up.
Okay, let's get into it then. The results of the review. Where does the DASS-21 really, shine? What are its strengths? Starting with that structural messiness.
Right, the structural validity. This was a key focus. And the review. It found strong, high-quality evidence for something called a bifactor structure.
Bifactor. Okay, sounds technical. Break that down for us. What does that mean if I take the test?
Think of it like this. Yes, it measures aspects related to depression, anxiety, and stress separately. Those are the specific factors.
Right.
But underneath all that, there's also this broader general factor. Let's call it a general negative emotional state. It captures the common overlap across all the questions.
Ah, okay. So my anxiety score isn't just pure anxiety. It's also reflecting some general distress or negativity.
Exactly. It means that both the total score summing up everything and the individual subscale scores are meaningful. You get this overall picture of negative emotion, plus the specifics of depression, anxiety, and stress. It's a richer picture.
That makes a lot more sense. It's not just three separate silos. So interpreting those scores together is key.
Definitely, it's a more nuanced view. And beyond the structure, the review also found really good evidence for its internal consistency.
Internal consistency.
Mm.
That's about whether the questions for, say, stress actually hang together well. They all seem to be tapping into the same idea.
You got it. How well items within a subscale measure the same thing. And the DASS-21, it did really well here. High scores, like Cronbach's alpha and coefficient omega, basically confirming the questions within each section are coherent and measuring something unified.
Good. So the questions aren't all over the place. What about content validity? Is it asking the right kinds of questions?
Here, the evidence was rated as sufficient moderate quality. The really good news is on comprehensiveness. It seems to cover the key concepts you'd expect for depression, anxiety, and stress. High-quality evidence for that.
So it covers the bases.
It does. And for comprehensibility, do people actually understand the questions and instructions? The evidence was also decent, rated as moderate quality. People generally get what's being asked.
Okay, covers the right stuff. People understand it. Now, the big one. Does it actually measure what it says it's measuring? Construct validity, right?
Yes, constructive validity. And again, the DASS-21 looked pretty strong here based on high-quality evidence.
How so?
Well, it correlated strongly with other well-respected tests. For instance, the DASS-21 depression score lined up really well with the Beck Depression Inventory, the BDI.
Oh, okay, I know that one.
Right. And also with the HADS depression scale. Similarly, the DASS-21 anxiety score matched up well with the Beck Anxiety Inventory and the HADS anxiety scale. High correlations.
So it's kind of confirming what other trusted tools are finding. It fits into the bigger picture.
Exactly. And it was also good at distinguishing between known groups, meaning it could reliably tell the difference between people known to have, say, depression or anxiety and those who don't. It supported almost all the hypotheses tested for that, 100% for depression and anxiety, 80% for stress. Very solid performance.
Wow, okay. And what about comparing it to, like, the ultimate diagnostic standard, a clinical interview?
That's criterion validity. Comparing it to the gold standard, which in this case was often a structured clinical interview like the SCID, done by a psychiatrist, the DASS-21 depression subscale performed remarkably well here. Really strong evidence, high quality. It showed excellent accuracy in identifying people who met criteria for a depressive disorder based on that interview. The technical measure, AUC, was consistently high.
So for picking up depression specifically, it's actually very, very good, even compared to a formal diagnosis.
It performs impressively well in that specific comparison, yes.
Okay, so we've got a strong structure, good internal consistency, it asks the right things, correlates well with others, and the depression part even stands up well against a clinical interview.
Sounds pretty great.
It does have significant strengths, for sure.
But I sense a but coming. No tool's perfect. Where did the review find areas needing more work or, where the evidence wasn't quite as strong?
Right. There are definitely areas needing attention. One major one is reliability over time, what we call test-retest reliability.
So if I take it today and then again next month, will my scores be similar, assuming nothing major changed for me? That's the idea. But the review found the evidence here was insufficient and often of low quality. Many studies had methodological weaknesses, like using different time intervals, which makes it hard to compare and draw solid conclusions.
So we can't be super confident about its consistency over time based on the current research.
Well, there's a nuance, too. The DASS-21 measures emotional states, which naturally fluctuate rather than stable personality traits. So you wouldn't expect perfect stability anyway if someone's mood genuinely changes.
Good point. Your stress level should change week to week, potentially.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem is the studies looking at reliability weren't strong enough methodologically to give us a clear picture, even accounting for that natural fluctuation. We need better studies on its stability when things are relatively stable.
Got it. So the jury's still out a bit on test-retest reliability due to study quality. What about responsiveness? Can it actually detect real change, like if someone gets better with therapy?
Responsiveness, yeah. Another tricky area. The review found sufficient low-quality evidence for depression and stress, and even worse, inconsistent, very low-quality evidence for anxiety.
Oof. Low quality again. Why?
A big issue was, again, methodology in the original studies. Many used statistical tests, like a paired t-test, that just show if the average score changed significantly. But that doesn't tell you if the instrument is validly detecting meaningful change for individuals.
So the stats might say change happened, but it doesn't prove the DASS-21 was accurately measuring the degree or reality of that change for the people involved.
Pretty much. Plus, the direction of change matters. Are you looking for improvement after treatment or worsening in another context? It needs careful consideration, so its ability to track change reliably. Still a question mark, especially for anxiety.
Okay, that's important if you're using it to monitor progress. You mentioned content validity earlier. It covered the right topics and people understood it, but you hinted at a missing piece.
Yes, relevance. This was a significant gap identified. While it covers the concepts, comprehensiveness, and is understandable, comprehensibility, the review found only sufficient, very low-quality evidence for relevance.
Meaning?
Meaning practically no studies actually asked patients or clinical experts, are these specific questions relevant to your experience of depression? Are the answer choices appropriate? Is the recall period right?
Wow. So we assume it's relevant because it covers the concepts, But we haven't really asked the people experiencing these things if it feels relevant to them.
Exactly. It's a crucial patient-centered aspect that's largely missing from the research base. A big recommendation is for future studies to actually ask these questions.
That seems like a pretty fundamental thing to check. Okay, what else? How does it hold up across different cultures or groups?
Yeah.
Cross-cultural validity.
For the older three-factor model, the evidence was inconsistent and only moderate quality, especially regarding differences between genders. It might not work exactly the same way everywhere or for everyone.
And for that newer, better bifactor model you mentioned.
Unfortunately, there just wasn't enough research. Only one study looked at measurement and variance for the bifactor model across groups. So the review concluded there's insufficient evidence. We urgently need more research to see if that stronger bifactor structure holds up consistently across different languages, cultures, genders, etc.
So we think the bifactor model is better, but we don't yet know if it's universally applicable in the same way.
That's a fair summary.
Any other practical drawbacks noted?
Two main ones. Unlike some other scales, like the HADS perhaps, the DASS-21 doesn't currently have widely agreed upon clinical cutoff scores.
So no clear line like score above X means likely clinical depression.
Not formally established and validated across the board, which would make it more useful as a quick screening tool. And second, while it's used a lot for adults and adolescents 14 and up, there isn't enough validation work to confidently recommend it for kids younger than 14.
Okay, good to know. So bringing this all together, what's the take-home message for our listeners trying to make sense of this tool?
Well, the big picture is definitely positive in many ways. The DASS-21 is, psychometrically speaking, a robust tool. That bifactor structure finding is really important. It gives a solid foundation. Its internal consistency is great. It measures what it intends to measure pretty well. And that criterion validity for depression is a major plus.
And it's free, widely available.
Absolutely. Huge advantages. It's applicable across many groups.
But it's crucial to understand the nuances. It's not perfect yet. For you listening, if you encounter the DASS-21, remember the questions around its reliability over time and its ability to track change, especially for anxiety.
Exactly. Those areas need more high-quality research. And the lack of relevance data is something to keep in mind. It's a reminder that even popular tools need ongoing scrutiny.
So it's a powerful instrument, particularly with that bifactor understanding. But interpreting results requires knowing these limitations. It's not just about the number, but the science behind it.
Precisely. It encourages critical thinking. When you use or see results from a scale like this, knowing its strengths and weaknesses lets you understand the information more deeply.
We've seen today that the DASS-21 is this freely available, widely used snapshot of emotional states, backed by some really strong evidence, especially for its structure and validity concerning depression.
But like any tool, especially one measuring something as complex as human emotion, it has areas where the science is still evolving, where more refinement and research are clearly needed.
You know, this whole deep dive really shows that sometimes understanding a tool means knowing not just what it does well, but also understanding what it doesn't do perfectly yet. It highlights that ongoing scientific journey.
Absolutely.
So maybe the final thought for you to chew on is this. How does learning about the rigorous testing of a tool like the DASS-21, including its gaps, change how you think about measuring something as personal and complex as your own emotional landscape?